Welcome back. My name's Logan and this is Building Your Spectrum Life. Today I want to give some tips and tricks for dealing with meltdowns and shutdowns. So let's jump into it. The best thing that you can do for yourself is to have grace. Grace for yourself, grace for the process. Meltdowns and shutdowns are a normal part of our lives. Your body is made in such a way that it knows what to do to recover, to bring you back to full capacity. The caveat on that is it's not always in our timeline. I found when I try and fight it, a lot of times it actually prolongs the recovery process for the shutdown or meltdown. The second tip is do what you need for as long as you need. This can be anything from stimming, getting to a quiet, dark space, being alone, having a weighted blanket. For me, watching one of my favorite movies or TV shows can sometimes be helpful. You need to do those things. Your body needs that time to be able to recover, and that's okay. The third tip is to get away from other people, to be alone. For myself, it removes the social stressors that are always present, even with people that I love and know and trust deeply and are very safe spaces. The fourth and most practical tip I have is if you're in a meltdown or shutdown, and you absolutely have to do something. You have a responsibility you need to take care of, or you are hanging out with your child or something like that. The best tip I have is eat something with sugar. A candy bar, an orange, something. It may not be the best health tip, and I don't know. See your doctor. I'm not a doctor. I've read a lot of research about willpower. The main correlation of do you have willpower or not is does your brain have enough glucose stores to be able to function? And so I find for myself, if I need to be able to do something and it's not a very severe shutdown or it is a responsibility I cannot neglect in any way, then eating something with sugar will give me just enough willpower to take care of this responsibility. I don't use it all the time, but there are rare occasions where it is helpful. Tip number 5 is to recognize that your capacity is not the same after a meltdown or shutdown as it was before. In the recovery process, I don't have the energy to do extra things. I even find normal things for me being very challenging. I can basically eat and drink water. You don't have to do the same level of things. And if that means you need to cancel plans or not go do this or that, I think it's super important that we do or don't do this or that. If you don't have the energy to cook dinner, but you want to eat good or need to feed your family, order takeout. If you need to go to the grocery store, there are so many different things now where you can do like pickup or Amazon something to your house instead of driving to a big box store and then dealing with those sensory challenges. So I think just giving yourself the space to say, hey, I can't do the things that I normally do for today, tomorrow, this week, whatever it is, however long that recovery process is for you is really important. Tip number 6 and 6B are centered around processing. One of the most useful things learning about ASD for myself and how I'm wired and how I work and things that I can and can't see, where are my blind spots, has been processing. When you start to feel like you're having a little bit of energy again, pull out a journal or pad of paper or something, even write it on your computer if you prefer that. Just sit down and write out whatever happened that day. I woke up, I brushed my teeth, I got dressed, I went to the store, I saw my friend Sarah, whatever it is, just listing them out. Like, I'm not saying include any other details about them. Sometimes you'll feel like I have feelings about that piece, about going to the store, and I don't know why. I don't even know what the feelings are, I just know that I have some feelings about it. And on those particular pieces in the chronological timeline, writing out a little bit more about what you did or what particular things gave you or are giving you feelings about it, I think can be helpful for identifying triggers that you may or may not know about. Point 6B is to process out loud. I think processing out loud normalizes the events that occurred. Having someone that is a safe place, a trusted friend or family member or something where you can just talk about your shutdown and why you shut down and what that experience was like for you. When we say things out loud, a lot of times it feels like a weight has been lifted. So if it's an option for you, I highly recommend it. I've found it very helpful just to process out loud. The next 3 tips, 8, 9, and 10, are related to what you can do beforehand. Tip number 8 is to talk to the people you live with. who are actually in your house, and just share your diagnosis if you haven't, self-diagnosis. If that is a safe space, safe person, trusted person, definitely share with them. Also share around the things that you need from them. So I think it's important to talk about what you're expecting of them and what they can do to be helpful, and also just to share your experience. So that could be anything from get you a glass of water, just leave me alone, whatever things that you actually need. Even if you haven't shared your diagnosis with them, it's still helpful to just communicate around it. Like, hey, if I run out of the room unexpectedly, I probably just need some time. I'm probably getting overwhelmed. Just saying words that people can understand. Everyone gets overwhelmed from time to time. That's not exactly what's happening, but it at least puts it in the ballpark for them to understand. To remove unhelpful things from your life to the extent that it's possible. We can't always avoid triggers for meltdowns and shutdowns. We can't always avoid sensory things and certain social issues or changes, but there are ones that we can. And I think through the processing tip, I've recognized like, hey, this person actually, after hanging out with him, I have a shutdown every single time. Or going to this store is not the best experience for me apparently, because I again shut down every single time. Figuring out things you can do around it, like when I hang out with this person, it's just gonna be for a shorter time period. I'm gonna set it to where I only hang out with them for 10 or 15 minutes, or I only see them at gatherings rather than one-on-one. Or, hey, when I'm going to the store, I need to wear earplugs and sunglasses, whatever it is for you, just to make those accommodations for yourself to help prevent as much as possible. My last tip is the biggest tip on this list. It has changed my life. Learn basic sign language. I heard one other person talk about it on YouTube. I think her name is Irene, but her channel is called The Thought Spot, and I'll try and link her down below. It's a great channel. You should totally go check it out. It really resonated with me because in a shutdown specifically, I am usually nonverbal. I've been learning sign language anyways for my kid, just like baby sign language, simple stuff. So I talked to my wife about it, and we started learning some simple things to say, like I need water, I need 10 minutes or an hour or whatever it is, or I'm shutting down, I feel overwhelmed. Those basic things that worked for me and have been helpful. There was a worker at our house maybe a month after I had started learning sign language. For some reason, I completely shut down. It was the middle of the day, and I was able to actually communicate to my wife, hey, I need an hour, I'm shutting down, and can you deal with this worker? She was able to say, absolutely, go take some time, here's your water bottle. Not the craziest level of communication. I'm not trying to say why I'm shutting down or anything like that, but it does give a little bit of an opening for my wife, in my case, just to know what's going on. And for some reason, it doesn't go through the same pathways, or I don't know what happens, but it actually works to be able to communicate. I'm gonna have an entirely separate video on this because it really has been life-changing. I have loved learning sign language, and it has been so helpful. That concludes the tips and tricks for dealing with a meltdown or a shutdown. I hope you found some of them helpful. That's all I've got. So thanks so much for joining me. My name is Logan, and this has been Building Your Spectrum Life.